Where's the other?
About the, of part of this. Well, let's play this clip.
And there's another clip of Steve Bannon shouting stuff while he's being arrested. So we'll see that.
Bannon. This is actually
after this. After we see him on Tucker Carlson, trying to explain.
We got
himself.
2 clips of Bannon, but let's get. This is 2020 when Tucker Carlson was asking Steve Bannon about the wall crowdfunding project he had. This was to finish building the wall. On the southern border.
Yeah, how much money did Trump actually get for the wall? Didn't he get like $4 billion for the wall, or something? And he still didn't complete it. So what makes Steve Bannon think that like he's gonna build it? I mean, he didn't. He didn't think he was gonna build it. But like, what makes the people who donated to it think that my $50 donation is going to help build the wall? Like they deserve to get scammed. If you're dumb enough to get scammed by such an obvious like grift, then yeah, survival of the fittest. You deserve to lose money.
The thing I love about this clip is they probably played it in the grand jury that indicted him. But here it is.
Oh, yeah.
Conferences, we built a wall, 2/3 of a mile of wall up a mountain in El Paso within 100 days of starting. I was a contractor.
2/3 of a mile? That's nothing. That's like, I don't know, 10 minutes of walking, 15 minutes.
And ran an advisory board that brought together the best and brightest of all the wall people. So they're not going to criminalize, they're not going to shut me down about talking.
The wall people, the creatures who build walls, the monkey, or the hominids, the bipedal hominids that evolved to build walls. That Steve Bannon is probably a half wall person himself, right? I mean, he has the physique of someone who just like, I don't know, is obsessed with walls. I don't know.
Talking about the wall. They're not going to criminalize us talking about the wall.
Okay.
We brought in Koba.
Criminalize talking about the wall? Is that a thing? How do you criminalize talking? Yeah, it's a total victim complex. Total, yeah, playing the victim, just like all these guys do.
And Sheriff Clark and all.
Because in most cases, they are the victimizers, right? But being an oppressor isn't cool. Being oppressed is cool, because like you're fighting back against this this hegemonic force. But when you are the hegemon, then it doesn't really make you look good. So you got these guys have to play the victim to make themselves more palatable in the public eye.
All these guys. So that's what the indictment failed to say. But look, all that'll come out in court.
It will, and I don't.
Is that they're not the key? Yeah, the key thing is they're not.
Tucker Carlson is like, okay, it will. Yeah, it will come out in court. So like, let's not talk about like the illegal stuff that you did. Okay, let's just not talk. Not on my show. Okay.
They want to criminalize political speech, and they're not going to shut me down.
Criminalize political speech. How are they doing that exactly? Yeah. Do they mean cancel culture? Do they mean like calling him out on his like racism, xenophobia, white nationalist ideology, etc.? Yeah. No. Victim complex.
And here is that's the shot, and here is, of course, the chaser. This happened yesterday in New York City.
Here it is.
For every conservative, this is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first.
This is what happens in the last days of the dying regime. Bro, you are the dying regime. You are the reason this country is dying. People like you are killing the country. And yeah, and your regime is already dead too. Like, your regime is over. You had your 4 years under Trump, and now you had your fun, and now it's time for you to go. You just wouldn't shut up. You just don't know when to quit. These people just don't know when to quit, is the thing. And yeah, you'll have to kill me first to get you to shut up. Apparently, well, yeah, he's not shutting up. So, I believe him when he says, I won't shut up until I'm dead. So, but if he's in prison, then it doesn't matter if he won't shut up, because who's gonna hear him? His fellow inmates.
Not yet begun to fight.
He's not yet begun to fight. So what has he been doing this whole time? Like, I mean, is that supposed to make him sound tough? Like, he's not yet. Why haven't you begun to fight if you haven't begun to fight? Like, you're going to start fighting after you've been arrested? Like, shouldn't you have already been fighting? Like, I don't know with this guy. He's he's just saying whatever he can to sound tough, right? Yeah, because that's all he can do. He can't do anything else. He's never going to admit to any fault of his. He's never going to admit that he's wrong. That's all these people have, these fascist authoritarians. They have to project this image of strength, even when they're clearly taking the biggest, fattest L of their careers.
Is that Churchill? Is that Churchill?
I think it's like Patrick Henry or something like that.
Was he quoting some
I
Patrick
wonder
Henry?
if they will forward his Seinfeld residuals to the jailhouse that he's in. I wonder if he gets those. But the guy's being arrested. Let's be clear.
Yeah, this is some kind of a comedy skit right here. Yeah, it's too funny. It's like absurdity. I mean, it's absurd that he thinks like he's some, I don't know, hero when he's clearly just an idiot.
He's not being arrested for espousing the need for a wall. He's being arrested for absconding with the money that he raised from people who wanted to build a wall. Like his
For stealing
own
money. That's
followers, he
what
was
he's doing.
stealing money from. That is the charges, and apparently he was pardoned on a federal level for these.
Yeah, he was pardoned on a federal level, but then there were other crimes that, or was it that the federal pardon doesn't apply to state crimes that he's committed? Is it the same crime that he's been being pardoned for, that he's being arrested for, or is it like a different crime? That's what I want to know.
I mean, does this get through to anybody, or is it just like we're going to see like free Bannon crowdfunding going now?
No, you most certainly are going to see free Bannon paraphernalia. That's why they want people like Herschel Walker and Marjorie Taylor Greene, people who either can't see the gaslighting or will be complicit with the gaslighting.
MTG had
Steve
a tweet
Bannon
to say
knows
about
that
this.
whether he's guilty or not, he knows that this is not an issue of the First Amendment. But he also knows that all his audience needs.
Yeah, it's not an issue of the First Amendment because he's not being silenced. I mean, even when he's being arrested, he's allowed to shout whatever nonsense that he wants to. And yeah, it's not like they're making up charges against him just to silence him, just to get him arrested. I mean, he committed the crimes. He accepted the pardon. If you accept a pardon, that's sort of like acknowledging that you did the crimes, right?
To feel good and to go a little bit further is to feel as though he's a martyr. So that's why he's quoting every line he can remember to make it seem like he's being an honorable hero. And we all know he's an honorable man, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Someone on the IM is saying that Bannon, Jackson from Wisconsin, says that Bannon was quoting John Paul Jones. But let me ask you this. Don't you think what we're seeing with Bannon is the criminalization of crime in this country?
Yeah, since
No,
when
you
is
have to
crime
understand,
illegal?
like the United States, honestly, real quick, this is actually kind of a shadow and a type of what's going on in this country in general. Steve Bannon is saying that no matter what he does, this system is not able to hold him accountable. It doesn't matter what law he breaks, he has a right to not be held accountable. And that's the spoiledness and the man-childishness of white supremacy and conservative men in this country right now. There is no lack of accountability. That's because, do we really expect them to hold each other accountable? Steve Bannon is saying, no, it doesn't matter what he did wrong. You can't hold him accountable.
Yeah, that's what the whole Donald Trump situation is about. I mean, he thinks that he's above the law, which is why he keeps like doing like bigger and bigger crimes, and now he is in real trouble with this whole document scandal. I mean, who knows what he was even doing with the documents, if there were even any crimes being committed. It's possible that he took the documents just because he thought he had the right to, just because he wanted them, because he thought that, you know, he's the president, so he has the right to take whatever documents he wants, and he just wants the documents because it makes him feel important and special. Yeah, so they it's just this profound sense of entitlement. These people, yeah, these white supremacists, are these conservative white men. They think, these rich white men especially, like they think that they're above the law because they, in a lot of cases, they are above the law. I mean, Trump brags about how he can squirm his way out of any crimes by like doing some lawyering shenanigans. He gets out of paying people. Oh, he gave someone a horse instead of paying them money at one time. Apparently, that just came out. So yeah. But once you're the president and you commit like serious crimes that like even other presidents will be held accountable for, then like he's pushing his luck really. Now I don't know what this whole special master is going to do. Like, who even knows what that means? But seems like this scandal might finally be a little bit too much for him to handle. Hopefully, yeah. Seems like all these guys are taking huge L's. It's not just these guys, like Steve Bannon, Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones is in a similar scenario. Like, he kept getting away with shit for so long, and then like he did this one thing that was like unforgivable. I mean, it was a while ago that he did it, but like the effects of it like kept going on. He never retracted it. He never said like to his followers like, hey, don't harass these people that are just trying to live their lives, that are victims of gun violence. And to this day, I don't think he ever actually like admitted to any fault. Like, these people, yeah, they never admit to any wrongdoing at all. And like, it's their pride and their ego are their downfall. So yeah,
it's fascinating to me to see this full-on assault that fascinating, I don't know if that's the right word, but it really is. I mean, if you step back and you see,
sight to see, fun to watch.
There is this, you know, and I think it's basically, you know, sort of a libertarian impulse that we're seeing from people who are sort of like the campus, ostensibly on the left, who are rising up and talking about the new authoritarianism that's coming from these companies and the FBI and the CIA and this and that, and I am extremely skeptical, to say the least, of the CIA and the FBI, of course, and you know, of certain policies and programs that the State Department and our government has, and obviously the massive increase in the military budget and the you know, I do have some issues with the amount of money that we're pouring into a war that ostensibly we have no part of.
Wait, he's talking about Ukraine.
In Ukraine. But with that said, there is a...
Yeah, I'm surprised Sam Cedar is not pro-Ukraine. I mean, it is pretty terrible what Russia is doing. But fortunately, seems like our support of Ukraine is finally paying off with Russia finally being pushed back to its borders, at least in part. But yeah, I think it's important to stand up to bullies, especially like a giant country like Russia. And yeah,
seems to me a difference, and this is where like even this like libertarian strain and ostensibly, you know, sort of like maybe some of them dub themselves anti-imperialists as opposed to like, I mean, they're campus, but you see, you mentioned this earlier, where the the religious fundamentalists are anti-institutional, and the institution that they're against is the idea of a secular government, of a government.
That's right.
And when we see these libertarian attacks on the IRS, on the and lumping it in with the FBI and the CIA, it sort of gives away the game. Where it's what this is there is an assault on the concept of government, and it's no different in terms of its impact than Ronald Reagan getting up there and saying, like, the most dangerous words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." It really is no difference. It has the exact same agenda, and it is a libertarian agenda that ultimately is trying to unshackle corporations, really, and money. And it also behooves, and the payoff for the religious fundamentalists and the theocrats is, we don't have to abide by civil rights laws. Basically, it's what it comes down to. I mean, that's where these things sort of meet in the middle, and their agendas are perfectly, sort of like they just fit together very nicely, even though they seem to be in disparate camps.
That's a great point. Not to talk over the black man here, but these libertarians like to think that they're special because they I don't know, they don't like cops when cops arrest them for speeding or having drugs or I don't know, soliciting minors for sexual favors or possessing child porn or things of that nature. They like to think that they're anti-authoritarian freedom fighters because they oppose age of consent laws and taxation. But yeah, their end goals really align with these other far right authoritarians. Really, these fascists or far right white nationalists. It's the libertarian to alt-right pipeline. Being pro-freedom is like cool and kind of edgy. So the younger right wingers become libertarians, and then when they grow older, they realize, a little authority is necessary. But their end goals never really change. The libertarians are supporting the authoritarian right wingers, whether they realize it or not.
It's like the quote from Grover Norquist when I believe it was Norquist, when he said, "We want to make the government small enough to put it in a bathtub and drown it."
Yep.
I think neoliberals and institutionalists took that as a metaphor. Obviously, it is a metaphor, but they're very serious about destroying the government by any means necessary, because the government itself is an impediment to their power, both economic power and political power. And it seems strange that they would say, okay, well, how do we have politics without a government? Easily. A theocracy will function just well for capitalism. It will function just right for the theocrats, and it'll function just fine for institutional Republicans who are willing to allow this country to be broken enough for theocrats to get in power.
Yep.
That's a crazy, So So the authoritarian and libertarian right-wingers, they both want to destroy the government, supposedly for different reasons, but really what they want to do is replace the government with a government of their own choosing, a more authoritarian, a much more direct form of government that's based more on the threat of physical violence more than agreeing to come together and resolve our differences and have the government be a representative body. They don't want that. They want the government to be the boot stamping on the necks of everyone else. Yeah, that's so when the libertarians try to dismantle the government by attacking the IRS or three-letter agencies as much as like the FBI or CIA do suck. They want to attack them for much different reasons than leftists want to attack them. They don't really want the things the FBI does to stop. They want to replace the FBI or whichever with their own version, the more authoritarian version that will do their bidding and is not held back by democratic norms and civil politics.
I mean, I think this is how you get it. I mean, you there's been plenty of people who've written in the past that fascism in this country is going to come riding on a cross.
That's right.
And in many respects, what the campus and the libertarians do is weaken. They don't need to assault the institutions in the same way that the religious fundamentalists do. They assault it, from some type of flanking maneuver, essentially, because all you need is this real sort of like cynicism towards even the concept of good government. When without a doubt, governments are flawed and problematic and this and that, but the direct assault on these on the idea of the IRS, for instance, you can have IRS that bad service, or they're only auditing they're so stripped of resources that they're finding it easier to audit low-income people than wealthy people, because low-income people don't have the lawyers, the army of lawyers. But the answer is fund the IRS so they can go after wealthy people. The answer is get people in the executive branch who mandate that the IRS go after the money, as opposed to the sort of like a low-hanging fruit at.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a common talking point from the right, is that the IRS only audits poor people, so it's like so they're making it out as if they're on the side of the little guy, the poor working class folks who are just being victimized by the IRS. But yeah, the IRS does that because they don't want to go after the people with lawyers, the people that will actually have the resources to fight back. So yeah, you gotta fund the IRS so they can go after the people that they should be going after. That's a good point. Yeah, there was a lot of fear mongering about the new IRS agents, the shadow army of Dark Brandon coming to take your money and audit poor working class families just like you. But yeah, maybe they're actually going to audit the people who deserve auditing now,
as it were.
Yeah, because it's Republicans who want poor people to stay poor, right? It's the right-wingers, not the Democrats. Well, maybe the Democrats are like that in their own way, but...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this is where institutionalists now become complicit. This is where the Joe Bidens become and the Joe Manchins become complicit, because as they see this attack on the institutions that they swore an oath to protect, they feel like it's in the margin of error enough for them not to feel like it's a real threat. In other words, if they can't look in the same way, I'm going to hold other Christians accountable with my efforts. If the neoliberals, liberals, Democrats, however you want to name them, if they are not willing to put white conservative men in check, because that is the very specific power group as defined by Bill O'Reilly from Fox News. He declared America's run by white Christian men. Well, if white Christian men like Joe Biden and Joe Manchin don't...
Bill O'Reilly giving the game away. Yeah, you're supposed to not say that.
Put their colleagues in check, then this system is going to collapse.
I guess that's why Bill O'Reilly lost his job, because he just couldn't keep his mask on. And he couldn't keep his dick in his pants. So, yeah, apparently